The global economic uncertainty. Uncertainty about inflation, growth, recession and whatnot. The economic growth that was expected after the pandemic has mostly faded away, and the entire global economy is suffering from slow growth and high inflation for quite some time. The predictions say, the worst is yet to come. Well, to get the clear picture, we need to look at what is actually happening. So, just 2 years after the pandemic, the global economy is once again confronted with difficult challenges. As growth slowed sharply due to high inflation, fears of a global recession are growing. Also, supply chain constraints and high oil prices due to the Russia-Ukraine crisis have made things more stiff. Between 1970 and 2021, the global economy experienced 5 recessions. That were 1975, 1982, 1991, 2009, and in the year 2020. Now in 2022 we might face another one, starting with the US economy with its high inflation. This high inflation is now suffocating the US economy's growth. This year's inflation rate peaked in June at 9.1%, which was the highest in the last 4 decades. This began to slowly decline, reaching 8.2% in September. This high inflation is the result of the increased money supply in the economy during the pandemic. This money supply was in the form of reducing interest rates and injecting money into the economy by the stimulus checks. You see, changes in money supply can take months or even years to materialize into the economy, but this sudden injection has ripple impact, which in this case is inflation. But this inflation can also be controlled by the Fed by increasing the interest rate. You see, when borrowing gets costly, people usually don't take loans due to high interest rates and the money supply in the economy shrinks, which in turn helps to curb inflation. That is what the Fed and many other countries are doing now. But there is a downside of rising interest rates. It starts the chain reaction of bad things in the economy. As the interest rates goes up, the cost of borrowing also goes up, and it gets difficult to take loans and pay back at a higher interest rate for many corporations as well as for the governments. And at the same time, the demand in the economy could also go down. So the corporations could lose their income and the government could lose the tax income. This starts the either recession or stagflation. That is why this could be a worse recession than the one in 2008 and 9. Because you see, the government cannot assist defaulting corporations, banks, and other institutions this time, as the governments are already in deep debts as a result of the high spending during the pandemic. Yet rising interest rates are not just a problem in front of the US economy, but it is also causing problems all over the world. As the US economy is the largest economy, and the dollar is the world's reserve currency. If the US raises interest rates, the dollar strengthens while all other currencies weaken. This is particularly bad for developing countries like India, Bangladesh, and Brazil, which rely heavily on imports rather than exports. Other smaller countries with limited foreign reserves often go bankrupt. In fact, a few countries have already begun to feel the effects of the stronger dollar. To make things worse, there is the crude oil crisis. As you know, Russia is the second largest producer of oil, and due to Western sanctions they are not selling oil to the open market, and this is causing a rise in crude oil prices. This is also causing inflation around the world. Because many countries rely on oil for economic activity, and rise in oil prices means higher transportation costs, which automatically raises the price of every product. Europe, the largest importer of Russian crude oil, is particularly hit hard, as it struggles to maintain economic growth as a result of high oil prices. Experts believe Europe is already in recession. But wait, everything is not going down. Economists are saying that the upcoming recession might be something different, particularly in the US. As you know, in the past recessions there was one thing common in all of them. That is, when the recession hits, many companies lay off employees to cut down their expenses. As unemployment increases, people start to save more, which reduces the demand and creates a chain reaction in the economy. But in this recession things are different. People are not losing jobs, but they are getting one. The unemployment rate is not rising, yet it is constantly decreasing. This is something new and it has never been seen before. One of the reasons behind this is, the profit margins of many companies are nearly all-time high from the past few years, and the amount of cash they have is more than $4 trillion combined. This is providing a buffer for the companies. Another reason is, it is easy to lay off employees, but it's very hard to find new ones. Yeah, you heard it right, the labor force participation in the economy is 40 years low, and it is not only because of the pandemic, it has been declining for a long time. More people are leaving the labor force, more jobs are available, and after the pandemic job vacancies have skyrocketed. How long this job market can sustain cannot be predicted now. But if the economies went under prolonged recession, then we might see mass layoffs from companies. All the figures indicate slowdown in global economic growth. But no one is talking about China, despite China being a major contributor in global economic growth for several decades. China has been experiencing several events. First is the zero COVID policy, which forces them to close entire cities. Then there was a coal shortage, which caused widespread power outages, primarily affecting the manufacturing sector and disrupting supply chains. Second, is the real estate crisis that is causing problems for Chinese banks and the government. And then there are rumors of a political crisis in the country. These issues are slowing the country's GDP growth. And it is causing issues for many multinational corporations. It is forcing them to relocate their manufacturing base, which may result in temporary price increases for many goods in the coming years. If you want to hear more about the future of the Chinese economy, then let us know in the comments. We will try to make a separate video on it. Today, every economic indicator, as well as major financial institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank, are warning us about a possible upcoming recession. And if nothing changes, and if inflation does not fall, the world may face one of the most difficult recessions it has ever seen. If that happens, it will not only push millions of people into poverty, but it will also change the world order as we know it today. So, what is your opinion on this economic chaos? Tell us in the comments below. And if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you.